Hey everyone, Gareth with Psychic Medium here, and tonight I'm here in Grimsby at the Central Hall. It's my first time here and I'm so looking forward to be able to work and represent the spirit world with a wonderful audience I'm sure that's going to be here tonight. If you'd like to see me on tour, then please visit my website www.gareth-lewis.com, and also visit my Facebook page, Gareth Lewis Psychic Medium, I think it is. I'm not too sure, I should know that, shouldn't I? But tonight, as I said, I'm here in Grimsby and I'm just going to show you just a few clips from tonight's show. I hope you enjoy them and hopefully I may see you on tour later on this year.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Psychic Medium Gareth Lewis.
Okay, so let's see where we go. And as I work here, I know that I've got a lady in the spirit world, and she just makes me feel here. I do feel that I've got mum in spirit, and she makes me understand that before she passed the spirit world, I don't know whether she had, I don't know if I'm diagnosing this or not, but I feel as I've got a lot of problems around the bowel, around the stomach area. She did give me this kind of understanding of awareness of maybe cancer, but as I say, I'm going to be totally honest with you, I'm not sure whether it was just myself just bringing that in. She makes me aware here. I don't feel that I'm that elderly with her. I still feel as I've got, quite a good few years ahead of me. And she just makes me feel that there was a lot of, I don't want to say issues, but she kind of makes me feel little complications before we got to actually where we were, what we're doing, what's going on. It wasn't just a straightforward going for a test and that's it. She makes me feel here there was a little bit of back and forth. She kind of gives me the thought of, do they actually know what they're doing? This feeling here of just unsurety. So can you understand a lady like that? Okay. So you understand this lady in the spirit world where they've got problems with the stomach area. Yeah. And you understand quite motherly with her. Yeah. And you understand where I've got a little bit of issues, a little bit of complications, a little bit of, not going to say misdiagnosis, but not sure right at the beginning. Does that make sense? And I feel that this was a bone of contention. This was a kind of like, well, why didn't you get it sorted sooner? I feel as if, I'm not going to say they knew what it was, she kind of gives me this feeling like a bit of a procrastination, a bit of a delay, that feeling. Okay, you understand? And at any point you say no, that's fine. I don't mind you saying no to me. I'll just stop talking to you. Okay. But she just kind of makes me aware of it. And with what I've just said and the way I've said it, my love, I do feel I've got a kind of, I don't want to say a feisty character, but someone who comes across and a little bit agitated with it, a bit kind of like, we've got to get this done feeling. Do you understand? I don't feel she was for anybody who's messing about going around the houses. I feel she was very much direct to the point, and this is what irritated her, you see, with this problem. That feeling of, well, do you know what you're doing? Do you understand? Okay. She makes me aware here that before she passed the spirit world, I do feel there was a time there. I'm not going to say a time of loneliness, okay, but there was a time where she took herself maybe away from others. She took herself aside. Does that make sense? Are you sure? Because she kind of makes me feel here of not wanting to be, well, she don't want to put on anybody, but she also doesn't want the attention to be like feeling sorry for her, So I do feel that she kind of makes me aware here, and say no if I'm wrong, she kind of makes me feel here is like, I'm limiting it to yous coming and seeing me. Does that make sense? Are you sure? Okay. And if it's not, just say yes because it makes me look good. Okay? Because she kind of makes me feel here as if she kind of made this thought of saying, look, I just don't want people coming and visiting me. I just don't want to keep you a little bit more quieter. Do you understand? She makes me aware here there was this thought of, I don't know whether she passed at 10 past 10 or 10:30, but she makes me aware there was some urgency or something connected around that 10 o'clock, 10:30 time to her passing. Are you sure? Okay, because she makes me aware here that the last thoughts, consciousness around that time of people either gathering or she passed not long after around that time. You understand? And she makes me feel here, was there a little bit of a rush to her passing? When I say this, it's kind of, I'm okay. I feel as if, yeah, I'm dealing with things. And then all of a sudden it's just like 0 to 100. You know, she kind of makes me feel she just took an illness very quickly, and she was this rush to hospital, there's this rush to getting her sorted. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, I don't know whether she passed on a Thursday or not, but she kind of makes me feel there was something around the Thursday with that. Are you sure? Okay, when it's right, love, there's something as important as that, just shout it louder. And that makes me look even better. But she makes me feel there was something important with that day. She also makes me understand here, she was someone who had, I want to say, I had a very much of a, I want to say a strict routine, but I feel she had a routine, okay? She makes me aware here she was that much of a proud lady that I don't want anybody, I said this before, I don't want anybody cleaning for me, I don't want anybody looking after me, and she makes me aware here that, Gareth, she says, my dignity was slowly going away, and I had to go. I couldn't do that. I look after you, you don't look after me. Does that make sense? Okay. And she just makes me feel here that, I don't know whether she had a little bit of a slip or a little bit of a fall before she passed, but she kind of makes me feel there's a little bit of an escalation there. When that happened, it was kind of a little bit of an escalation to her passing. I'm not going to say that was the reason why, but I kind of feel as if things went from there. Does that make sense? Okay. She makes me aware, my love, she's been around you recently, and I feel here within the last couple of 2-3 days or so, she makes me understand, I don't know whether there's been tears around you or some kind of downness or, you know, emotional, should we just say? Does that make sense? She makes me understand, I know we're on Friday, she takes me to Wednesday, she makes me feel she was around you Wednesday, when I feel as if I just want to put the towel in, I just feel as if I just want a break, I just feel as if I just leave me alone. Would you understand feeling a bit like that on Wednesday? Are you sure? I love working with you, love. You just say yes. But as long as you understand everything, all right, and I'm not going to say, I'm sure you say no if you can't. Because she just says, you know, this is what you miss. She says, you miss that kind of giving me a ring, giving me a chat, going round. And she makes me aware of that being reflective on Wednesday with her. She also makes me understand, I don't know whether you've been changing your house around or moving things around, but she makes me understand that you've either just moved a photograph of her or you've changed positions of a photograph of her. Pardon? And she makes me, well, you did that today, is that right? Good, Anna. And she kind of just makes me feel here, she says, you know, Gareth, she said, I don't know why she's put me there. Is she a little bit more kind of like obstructed in some way, or is her view a bit obstructed? Oh, put her where she can see everything, love. All right, it's your house, do what you want, but if you don't want papers and things flying about, then I do as you're told. But she just makes me feel here there's a little bit of a like, I'm not going to say she's behind the curtain, but I'm using that as an example. There's just that little bit of something's in my way. Does that make sense? Okay. And she just wants to say, you know, she's been around you. She also talks about being there with her when she passed. She makes me feel here there was someone who wasn't there. Before she passed. You know, she makes me feel that there wasn't someone there before when she passed. Okay. But I know that they're either outside or they're on the way. Does that make? But she'd already gone. Does that make sense? Okay. So with that, I feel that she just wants to say, you know, everything's going to be okay. She wants to give you that hug what you need at the moment. I'm going to leave her love with you and say thank you for your contact. Okay. Thank you. And you do know if you not make it after me, I'm just going to go back that later. I know here I've got a gentleman in the spirit world, and he makes me feel here that before he passed, I do feel that sadly he was a younger gentleman, and he just makes me aware that he took his own life before he passed the spirit world. I don't feel he's been there that long. I feel as if he gives me, when I say not long, I'm kind of like in the last couple of years or so, and he just makes me aware here, rather than being a depressive character, I feel it was more circumstances what took him into the depression, if that makes sense. Because he kind of makes me feel that before this situation, before this what was going on, I am a normal, not normal, that sounds rude. I am kind of just someone who would just get on with my life, enjoy, and that kind of understanding. He makes me feel here that there was two people who was either making his life a little bit uncomfortable or creating problems around him. So can anybody understand a young gentleman who passed like that? But I do feel as I want to stay on this side, but I'm not too sure, just to make sure. You understand everything I've said, my love? Are you sure? Okay. Are you all together? Just you and the lady with the sweets? Okay. And there's nobody else who can replace this? Nobody at all? Okay, not that I don't want to work with you, just double checking with that, okay. So, you understand this young gentleman, he took his own life, yeah, and you understand where it was a situation, what created him to go into that depression, rather than being, a depressive character through his life. You understand what I mean by that? Okay, because he just gives me this feeling here, that's where the shock was. Okay, that's where the shock was, because he wasn't a depressive character. He got on with things. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, all right, leave you with it, get on with the next one. Does that make sense? I do feel that he has got that kind of, not necessarily a hard skin about him, but he has got that feeling of, I can handle things, but this, he just makes me feel like he just kind of like gives me a feeling like peeling an onion. Like just tearing a little bit away from him. Does that make sense? It kind of makes me feel as if someone or some situation just taken a strip, and a strip. Does that make sense? And I do feel I've got to use the words, and if I'm wrong on the actual, understand the meaning rather than the actual word, it kind of makes me feel here, it's like a manipulation kind of thing, okay, where I just feel as if I've just been brought into this situation and I'm just being stripped of everything, okay. So you understand where he has this feeling, just things just being taken and stripped away from his personality, the way he was. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. You both understand. Are you connected? Your sisters, okay. He just kind of comes through and he makes me feel as if there was an understanding, not necessarily an understanding of why he did what he did, but an understanding of the situation which created his downness, shall we say. Does that make sense? He makes me feel here, I mentioned before, and I don't know whether you acknowledge this or not, but he makes me aware of the two people who would have created problems. You understand where there was two people mainly who created problems? I feel if I want to say there was one, okay, and then there was another one like that, just papping in someone else's ear. Does that make sense? Kind of winding things up. You understand? Because he makes me feel here, he says, I did try, Gareth, to get away from the situation, but I just felt as if I'd been brought back in. I just felt like I'd been dragged back in. He said, I did have a wonderful support network around me, okay, and he makes me aware that you, as family and friends, knew the situation, but not to the extent of, okay, because he makes me feel here there were times when I did speak about things. He said, but it wasn't until afterwards that we found out the real story. Does that make sense? And I know here, I've got to say to you, my love, I've got to say to you that he's got such a wonderful soul about him. I don't want to just say that because you're sat there. If he was another, I would turn around and say he was. I'm not afraid of saying that, smack or no smack. But I do feel I've got a wonderful soul about him. You ask him to do something, he'll go and do it for a tenner. You ask him to help you out, he'll do it for a fiver. He just makes me feel he was there to help you out. But he makes me understand, he says, Gareth, he says, I'm still remembering this, I love that. Okay. And he just kind of gives me this feeling, he says, I understand there's a lot of sadness, but he says there was also, and I feel there is still also a lot of issues after his passing, connected to his passing. Does that make sense? He said it doesn't matter whether it was yesterday or 20 years ago. I know it was recent, okay? But he makes me feel as if it's still going. And I feel as if someone's still digging away or someone's still creating. Does that make sense? And he said, I don't know why. He says, because I'm not here anymore. But I feel as if they've now moved on to someone else who connects with me. Does that make sense? Okay. And I'm going to leave you with him and say thank you for your contact. Lovely, lovely young personality. All right. And I've got to say that again. All right. Okay. Okay. I'm going to carry on here. And as I do, I know that I've got a gentleman in the spirit world. And he makes me aware here that his life was taken from him. I feel that I don't want an accident. I feel it's more either a disagreement or a fight or an argument of some sort. And he just makes me feel as if I've just been attacked once. I don't know if I've just been stabbed once or hit once, but he just makes me feel here I've just been attacked once. And that was it. I do feel that he was either on a night out or he'd been out, and this is where this argument, this kind of upset occurred, but he makes me aware that it wasn't necessarily his fight to have. I feel as if I'm like more drawn into it, or wrong place, wrong time kind of feeling, but I don't feel it's my argument as such. So can anybody understand a young gentleman like that? Can you understand everything I've said? Yeah? Okay. So, I don't know whether he'd just been out, or he'd been out with friends, or he'd been out socialising somewhere, but he kind of makes me aware here of either I'm on my way home, or I should have gone home. This person as well. Is that the same person? Would you understand where they were on the way home, or they should have gone home? They turned around and gone, right, I'm going now. Does that make sense? Are you sure? Okay, and you understand that now, right? So if there are aspects what you know about this gentleman, please just give her a slap and say, no, you're wrong. But he does make me feel here as if I'm going to go back to that, I really shouldn't have been there, because I've told someone I'm going home, or I'm on my way home. Okay? And he makes me aware here of whatever this incident was, I feel it wasn't a there and then thing. I feel it probably started earlier on. I don't feel it was just a case of, right, come on, let's, I feel as if I've been followed, or I feel as if it's continued. We thought it finished with this argument or whatever it was. Does that make sense? Okay. And he makes me aware here that, again, I know I mentioned to someone else earlier about an injustice, but I kind of feel here as if there really is that injustice there as well. Does that make sense? I feel as if whoever did this or whatever hasn't been punished, or hasn't been punished to the effect of what they were. You understand that? Okay? But he makes me feel here that this happened here, but it didn't pass there. I'm not saying I'm past an hospital either. I kind of feel as if I've either moved. I kind of feel here that this attack happened, okay, but I don't feel that's where I was when I was found, or where the paramedics got me from, or whatever. I feel as if I'm a little bit further up. So I feel as if I've escaped, or I've kind of like run away, or I've moved away. I don't feel as if I just dropped to the floor, and that's where the paramedics have got me. Does that make sense? I feel as if I'm over here. Do you understand it? I put it like that. Are you sure? Okay. Because he kind of makes me feel as if I did try and get away, but he makes me feel, I know I said it was a one attack kind of thing. I do feel as if someone came and followed me, or they tried to chase me. Does that make sense? That's why I know I'm getting away after an attack. Yeah? Okay. He makes me feel here of, but he just makes me aware here. He says, I love to laugh, I love to giggle, I love to, party. And he makes me aware here that one of the last gatherings he had, either in the family or very much in a big social environment, was someone's party, someone's birthday or celebration of some sort. And I feel that's when I saw everybody last together. Does that make sense? Because he makes me feel here that that was his last kind of like seeing everybody together. You understand? Okay. And he says, I'm still remembered now. People, I'm not saying he's been forgot by any means, but when I say this, I feel that even friends still celebrate his memory. They either go for a pint on that day, or, do you know what I mean? Whatever. I don't want it to just be a family thing, because he makes me feel here I'm still remembered by my friends, where they'll go and, like I say, have a drink or whatever in his memory. Do you understand that? Okay. And I'm going to leave you with that. And as I do, he says someone still either wears my jumper or has my jumper. So we understand where someone still either wears or has a jumper, a sweater of his. Okay, I feel as if at times they may put it on and still have it on memory days or whatever it may be. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with that and say thank you for your contact. Okay. Okay, so I know I've got mum in spirit, and again, I don't feel that old with her. She makes me aware here of passing with cancer, but I don't know where. So when I get things like that, I feel it was very much of maybe an all over, or it just spread quickly because I can't tell whether it was here, or here. So I feel as if it was very much of a quick spreading cancer with her. So when she found out what was wrong, I feel as if we've gone a little bit too far with it. She makes me feel here as if there wasn't really any build up to it. I feel it's very much of a going to the doctors, getting a couple of tests, and then finding out the severity of the case, because she makes me feel very much from the start that it had spread, and there was nothing really what could be done for her. So, can anybody understand mum in spirit where, again, the cancer would have been that quick, where it would have spread that quickly? With the lady at the back there. Okay. Oh, it's you. It's mum, yeah? I said right at the beginning, mum, I've got mum in spirit. Okay, that's fine. You understand where it was very much of a quick kind of diagnosis. There was no real build up to it. And when I say that, then it must have been a quick passing as well from diagnosis, you know. And that's because she quietly, not knowingly, lived with the illness for a while before. Does that make sense? Yeah, you sure? Okay. She makes me aware here of, she wasn't that kind of person. I said before, I think it was to someone else where they wouldn't go to the doctors and things like that. I feel she would go to the doctors if there was a problem. But I don't feel there was a need for her to go to the doctors because she didn't feel, you know, does that make sense? All right, because she kind of makes me aware that she felt like there was something wrong. She'd have gone straight to the doctors, you know, so she wasn't one for not going. You understand that, okay? She makes me aware here of, I'm going to say, at times she could come across as being a little bit of a, I'm not going to say a bit of a funny bugger, but she could come across as being a little bit kind of like picky, or if things weren't done a certain way, that kind of feeling. Does that make sense? Where you go, just relax, it's only that. Do you know? And I feel as if, no, it's got to be done. So I feel she could be a little bit finicky at times. Does that make sense? She makes me aware here, though, when she did find out what was wrong with her, she makes me feel that she did turn around. I'm not going to say literally, but she did turn around and say, this is not going to kill me. So when I say that, I feel she did carry on. I do feel she, you know, she lived as long and as best and as whatever. She didn't just sit down and die. Does that make sense? She makes me feel here as if, no, it's not going to, you know, and I feel that she would have taken it quite well, you know, and that's it. I'm just going to live for tomorrow and see what happens. You understand? Okay. Would she have also been the kind of lady who would have liked her hair to have been done a certain way? Would she have also had that regular appointment or that kind, you know, it always needed doing? You know, I'm not going to say it was every week, but I feel as if she always, you know, she loved the hairdresser, she loved the banter, she loved, it was just a bit of something to do with her as well. Does that make sense? Okay. She makes me feel here that when she was laid to rest, someone went in and they tended to her. And I don't want the funeral director, I don't want the embalmer, I feel someone personal went in and either looked after her, did her hair, makeup, whatever it is. Does that make sense? And she makes me feel here, she says, you know I had that was, but I appreciated it so much because she would have liked to, gone back to doing things myself. Okay? She makes me feel here that, and someone going in tending to her, that's where I was until I got this time. But she just makes me feel here about going in and looking after her. She makes me aware, did something get taken from her before she went? In other words, I feel as if someone either placed something with her and then said, right, we're keeping that now, or changed their mind and didn't go. So I'm going to make it up and just say, let her take a wedding ring with her and then turn around going, no, we're not, and we're taking it back. Does that make sense? She kind of makes me feel as if something was taken away from her when she was laid to rest. Does that make sense? Are you sure? Are you sure? Okay, because she just makes me feel that she never wanted anything to go easy. You know, she'd have always caused problems, you know. And is she laid to rest somewhere? Is she buried somewhere? Or, like I said before, her ashes somewhere? Okay. Now, I'm not saying this is her, okay, but she kind of makes me feel here, is there ashes buried? Are her ashes buried? No. Because she kind of makes me feel about burying ashes. And I wasn't sure whether it was her ashes or a memory of someone else's. Are her ashes buried? Okay. Are they in the, I'm going to have to ask, are they in the graveyard? The reason I've got to ask that is because where I'm going, I'm just making sure I'm on the right thing, is she's taking me into a graveyard. Okay, so she said, we're not bothering with front entrance. I don't want to go in the front entrance. She makes me feel as if I want to go around the side. I don't know whether it's more of a cut-through entrance or, you know, but it's not an official entrance. Does that make sense? Okay? So I know that I want to go in that way. As I go in there, I know that I want to turn right as I go in. And she makes me feel here that I want to say hello to someone on my way. So there must be someone else buried there, or there must be another person you would say hi to on your way to go into where she is. She makes me feel here as if I carry on walking. I don't know whether we've got some kind of, I'm going to use the term roundabout or some kind of circle of some sort. But she makes me feel as if it goes round. The path goes round in like a circle or in an arch of some sort, because I feel as if I'm going round. Does that make sense? I do feel as if I'm going round to the left as I'm walking there, or I'm going off to the left. Okay, she makes me feel here that she's not far from that bend. I know that I'm going to go off to the left. I don't know whether she's 4 graves in or 4 graves back, but she talks about 4. You sure you can say no? I don't mind. Four graves back or 4 graves in. That's all right. Okay. Just how to talk about I'm 4. And she makes me aware here that I want to go to the grave, okay? I want to go, that's it. But I want to go and sit over here and think about it. So I don't want to sit at the grave. I'll go, put flowers down, whatever it may be. But I'll go and spend time just on that little, I don't know if it's a bench or a wall or something. But I kind of feel like I want to sit over here. Okay? She just very quickly makes me feel here that in her better days before she got ill, I do kind of feel that she was someone, I don't know whether she worked in a humanitarian industry or helping industry, caring, whatever it may be, but she makes me feel she loved just helping people, caring for people, being there for people. So whatever industry she was in, I feel it's very much of a humanitarian, I'm going to use the term nursing or whatever industry, okay? And I do feel that she loved that. And she just kind of just comes through, she says, you know, don't feel bad. She says, don't feel bad. Was you not there when she passed? Pardon? You was right there. When she actually passed. This, no. Don't tell me that, I'll tell you. No. Did someone not leave and then got told to come back? I don't know whether they made it or didn't make it. I feel as if they felt bad for leaving. Does that make sense now? Okay. She makes me aware that don't feel bad for not being there. So I felt as if someone left and then got called back not long after, you know, and as if like a quick turnaround and going back. Does that make sense? Okay. And I do feel she was, again, I'm just going to say, a lovely mother to have. She had her problems, but she also makes me feel here, at times she had to be mum, she had to be dad, she had to be uncle, grandma, granddad, and she had to do a lot for herself. And she said, I'm so proud of the way that you are because you've learned a lot from her. And I'm not saying that you have to do everything yourself, but she makes me feel there's aspects of your life where, you know, you'd rather just do things yourself because then at least you know they're going to get done your way. Does that make sense? And I feel that she taught you a lot of lessons, from male roles, whether it be sexist, to female roles, to, whatever. She just makes me aware that she has to take on all those roles. And I do feel she talks about her own childhood, and she makes me aware that it wasn't necessarily at times the greatest, but I feel that she would have had to grow up quite quick when she was younger. Does that make sense? Okay. So please take care, love, and I want to say thank you for your contact. Okay.